Hello and welcome back to Hollowponds Solo Sagas. So today's how-to masterclass, well, it's like the solo role-playing game toolbox essentials. So the things I've been covering in these are like key points. So what I thought I'd deal with, I mentioned this in the last episode of one of these, is how to approach the game when you're feeling blur. You're feeling you can't be bothered, you haven't got the energy. It's not that there's another thing to do. It's that you're just low, on a low ebb. Now, I'm not talking about a mental health crisis, because if you are, this video isn't going to help you, and I would strongly advise you seek some help from someone. So what I will do is I will stick in the footer. So this is Australia. I can only give you telephone numbers and stuff for Australia, but I'll stick some stuff in the footer in the description. I'll try and find some more globally accessible things. There are online facilities. So I would say here, because we are talking about feeling blur and low, that if you are in a crisis, you should seek help. There is no problem with seeking help when you're in a crisis and you're having problems. I've done it, many people have done it, and it helps that way. This isn't for that. This is if you're just in a low ebb to try and address those bits and try and give yourself the energy to do the thing. Because taking into the fact that the hobby time that you have is good for you, because it's cutting a little bit of time for your own mental health and to look after yourself. And it's when they say, be kind to yourself. It was a thing that we heard a few years ago quite often. But we should still do that. It's not just because that time has gone, we've stopped doing it. We should still be doing it. So when you're not feeling it, but this is what you would like to do, what's some of the approaches you could have, and the approaches that I myself use? I mean, we can cover this just straight off, that for people like me who do this in front of a camera and then stick it out on the internet, when I'm feeling on a low ebb, and sometimes I will put on a game face, because I have a thing to do, to produce a thing to put out there, and that drives me sometimes. So having that drive, but sometimes not having that drive, how do you then do it? So one of the ways that you can do is you can try so we'll go through three. So one of the ones is you can try and approach it gently. So if you're not in the mood, you don't have to dive straight into a hardcore session. If you've got an ongoing campaign and you want to keep doing it, because maybe you want to take a break from it, maybe an idea would be to take a break, but we'll deal with that possibly later on. In a sort of mode of taking a break, but go in slow. If you had let's take the Lancers. If I had a tabletop skirmish planned for this session, because we'd rolled an encounter last one, and I'm just not feeling it, should I push through and do that tabletop? I'm not going to enjoy it. I might as well put that off. What could I do instead? I could step in. I could think, okay, well, let's spend a bit more time looking at a map, or let's design a map, or maybe I can spend some extra time designing have like a big NPC that is in there, or create the story of the encounter a bit more. So you want to sort of or just reread that last session, like what led into this. Maybe I can play some of the scenes around put more detail into those scenes. I don't need to do that thing if I'm not feeling it. I can tread in around the space. It's all around that way of the prep is play. I could say, okay, well, let's look at the minis, because I'm going to do a mini battle. I will paint some minis because prep is play. So you can still have your hobby time, but you don't have to dive in if you're not feeling it. You can tread in, and then particularly if I'm setting some stuff up, I might then feel, oh, actually, yeah, I will play that skirmish. And then you start playing it. Another one is you can change, rather than have a complete change of game, you can change the mode of the game. So instead of doing a full scene, you can instead do some, it's kind of a bit like the last one, step in slowly, but change the mode of the game. So you could write a letter. So maybe we'll go back to a Lance, for example, maybe we can do a Viking writing a letter back, sending a transmission back home to a loved one or a parent. Maybe we could create some backstory about something in one of the characters, or maybe we could do just a little flashback scene that doesn't really take much time, just a few hours, so as we've done some stuff, it doesn't even have to take some hours, it can take like 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So we've done some stuff to move our story forward. We felt like we've spent some time for us, but we've changed the mode. So we don't necessarily have to go in for full action. We don't need to make loads of rolls. We can just create a tiny little piece of story and backstory and just do that, which is also around the whole preppies play, but this is more a different angle to the way you may have approached it already. It's a bit like The Walking Dead. Instead of doing a full session, you could just do the monologue, the dearly departed monologue. Just do a really in-depth, write a really cool monologue and do that. That could just change the mode of play, slightly tweak the angle that you would normally approach it with, try and think of a different way of approaching the game to give yourself just a spark of refreshness. And along those lines, we can go for this with this kind of twofold thing, because you might decide to do it either way. So instead of standing on doing like a standard type game, you could go small, do small scenes. So we could break the combat into so it's kind of a mix of both of the things I was going to approach, but I've just thought of it, it's quite cool. So we could go macro instead of standard, and we could abstract, but then we could go micro and just study, like just do one combat, like do in detail one part of the combat. Instead of the big whole combat, we just do one section of it. We focus on various different, or we can abstract roles. So we can just say, look, I really am not up to doing this combat and I don't want to do it tomorrow or later. So we'll abstract it. We'll abstract out, we'll do some roles, and we'll work out who wins, who loses, and what the forfeit would be, instead of playing through the whole combat. We could, on that abstracting, we could just try and do some one roles, roll on some verb tables or some thematic prompts, and try and abstract out what happens. You don't owe the game a movie level scene. You don't owe the game that you are playing for your own enjoyment and your own mental health and your own creativity and the way to express yourself a certain way of playing. The rule system that you're playing around, no matter what it is, no matter how complex it is. So let's take, I recorded earlier this week Rifts. I did Rifts in the afternoon and I did Lancer in the morning. The Rifts characters, like the monsters, have got loads of stats with them. Like they're proper old school stat blocks, which go 2 pages. I was not, and I think I mentioned it when I was recording it, I was not in the mood for massive stat blocks. So I just picked out a couple of the bits that were important to me and did that. I don't owe Savage Worlds my time or anything to play against. I'm playing, I'll play the way I want to play. To get out the enjoyment I want to get out of it. And reading 2 pages and trying to memorize 2 pages of a monster just for a fight, that would definitely make me feel meh, because it's not what I enjoy. I don't enjoy stuff like that. And so going macro or micro to find where that enjoyment is, to try and give you the spark if you're not feeling it. Don't force yourself to play the game a certain way because you think you owe it to it. You don't. What the game owes you is fun, and that's what you're there for. You're there to try and just get through that that sort of like blur moment and get back that spark for that enjoyment. I mean, you could take a break, but taking a break is good in one way, but not in another, because the risk there is you fill that gap with other life admin and minutiae, which then will occupy that space, because time is like air getting into a volume. It will expand to fill the whole space. Because you have to remember, just to close off, so just going through those 3 again, you can start gentle and start slow. You don't have to charge into a big thing. Start gentle, start slow, preppies play, fade in that way. You can change the mode of the game. You don't necessarily have to change the game. So you can change how you're approaching the game, not necessarily change the game all into. But although that is another way, you might want to change a different game just to try and give you the spark back. And you can try it. You don't owe the game to be played in a certain way. You can go small scale or large scale, abstract, use different tables to get that same feeling. Because one of the key bits, just to end on, is solo role playing should be a judgment-free zone. When you role play with friends, it should be judgment-free. And if you role play on your own, you should be judgment-free from yourself. You should cut yourself some slack, and it should be a judgment-free zone for you. If you're getting fun out of playing it a certain way, you're playing it right. No one's going to come along. There's no solo role-playing police that are going to come kicking in your door and drag you away because you're not playing it right. So cut yourself some slack. Don't go in too hard. Take your time. Try and approach it from a different angle. Try and regain that spark and allow yourself that time for that creativity. I think that's it. I think that's what I've covered in the bits that I would go through when I'm trying to get that spark back, trying to abstract some stuff, trying to approach the game in a way to get the joy out of it. Like, we all have those moments when we're on a low ebb and we haven't got the energy, or we haven't slept properly, or something's going on, or there's some background stuff. Particularly at the beginning of this year, I had loads of it going on with the work stuff and the redundancy. So it's interesting how we approach these things, and I'd be interested to see how you approach these things, which is me tactfully going through to that bit which you say, do put it in the comments. But do share your bits, how you approach those moments when you're not feeling it, but you really want to play. Like, you really, because you've been looking forward to it, but you're just like, oh, I've got to get the dice out, I've got to get the books out, I've got to put a space out. Like, how do you approach it? Do you have a certain space? Is that easier? Like I've got for a painting space, which you can see a green screen version of over there. I did that because otherwise I was getting my paints out and then painting, and I found out it was a chore. But instead what I do is I just have them sitting up there, and I go over, I do a bit of painting, go and do something else, come over, do a bit of painting, do something else. If you can set something up, maybe that helps as well. There's all of these little bits that help us that we do intuitively, and it's only when someone asks, how do you do that? You have to then process it and put it down. So if you can share, that'd be really cool. And that's it. 3 little things to do if you're feeling meh and you really want to play. Hopefully that helped. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, do consider it. There's loads of these little things, but it's not just these how-tos. There's lots of other stuff I do on the channel. There's not as many. I saw someone who's been doing so, or doing some role-playing type things. 5,100 videos they'd put up. Now that's a lot of videos. If you're not a subscriber, do consider being a subscriber. Thank you so much to the Adventurers Guild. I really do appreciate your support. It's just a small one. There's not much content to this one, but I just wanted to deal with the fact that sometimes we feel meh. We shouldn't feel weird about it. If we do have problems, we should go and seek help for those problems. Don't just sit on it. Don't just think it will go away. Go seek help. It will make your life a better place to be in, and it will affect you in a positive way. Seek help. If it's just a meh day, then you can try these techniques or others that people suggest. I wish you all the best. See you later.